Morning sunshine, evening moonlight, wherever you're at, this is Charlie.
Philosophers with pens in hand, questions deep, ain't life grand?
Welcome to Nobody Cares About the Chickens, where we ruffle feathers and serve up uncomfortable truths. I'm your host, and today we're diving into something that's been nagging at my consciousness like a persistent notification: the art of worship and how it's turning our brains into cognitive couch potatoes. You know, there's this fascinating Sanskrit concept called bhakti. It literally means devotional worship. Ancient Indians believed it was the fastest path to enlightenment. But here's the irony. In 2025, blind devotion seems to be doing exactly the opposite. Whether you're genuflecting at the altar of organized religion, pledging undying allegiance to your political tribe, or defending your favorite celebrity with the fervor of a medieval crusader, we're all susceptible to this peculiar human quirk. Now, quick disclaimer, if you're expecting an edgy atheist manifesto or a takedown of religion, you might want to adjust your spiritual antenna. This isn't about bashing beliefs. It's about examining why we humans are so remarkably skilled at suspending our critical faculties in the name of devotion. As Robert Anton Wilson pointed out, belief is the death of intelligence. This exploration isn't about denying faith, but about understanding the complexities of belief and the nuances of human thought. So let's think about this. What do religious extremists, hardcore political zealots, and Swifties on X have in common? They all share that special talent for turning off their prefrontal cortex faster than you can say confirmation bias. You see, in Japan, there's this concept called Sono Joy, revere the emperor, expel the barbarians. It was a political slogan that led to some pretty intense historical moments. But aren't we all creating our little own emperors these days? From tech CEOs who can do no wrong to political figures who could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, and you know the rest. Now, focus on what I'm telling you. Anthropologists studying cargo cults in the Pacific Islands found entire belief systems built around abandoned military equipment after World War II. Did you hear that?
Huh?
Some islanders literally worshipped airplanes, thinking they'd bring prosperity. Now, before you chuckle along, I need you to ask yourself this question. Is your unwavering faith in whatever it is right now really that different? You see, today we're going to explore why worship isn't just a religious phenomenon, it's actually a human one, and how this very human tendency might be leading us down a path where critical thinking becomes as rare as a thoughtful YouTube comment. Let's talk about worship, but not in the way your Sunday school teacher did. You know what's fascinating? The Aztecs. The Aztecs used to worship their sun god, believing they had to feed him human hearts to keep the sun rising. Now, before we get too smug about our modern sophistication, let's consider how many of us would literally fight someone for suggesting our favorite politician might be less than perfect.
Oh no, the car exploded!
See, worship isn't just about burning incense and chanting mantras. It's what happens when we put something or someone in a criticism-proof bubble. It's Tesla fans explaining away every Cybertruck window crack. It's Apple enthusiasts claiming the $3,500 Vision Pro is actually a bargain. It's political devotees performing more mental gymnastics than an Olympic athlete to justify their leader's latest gaffe. It's Hermes Birkin buyers convincing you that you do not live a life of luxury if your bag doesn't end up creating a stiff shoulder. Neuropsychologist Dr. Sarah McKay's research shows our brains actually process intense devotion to ideas or figures similarly to romantic love. We're literally getting high on our own supply of certainty. So let's break this down. Our brains are basically uncertainty-hating machines. Studies from the Max Planck Institute show that humans would rather receive a definite electric shock now than maybe getting one later. We're so desperate for certainty that we'll accept a guaranteed bad thing over an uncertain outcome. Wild, right? Well, in India, there's a tradition called Guru Shishya, absolute devotion to a teacher. But scroll through X and you'll see the same dynamic playing out with tech bros defending their favorite billionaire's latest 3 a.m. tweet storm. The psychological mechanism is identical.
Wow.
Now, about that cognitive dissonance, you know that uncomfortable feeling when reality doesn't match your beliefs? There was this fascinating studies in the 50s by Leon Festinger. He infiltrated a doomsday cult that predicted the world would end on December 21st. When the world didn't end, instead of admitting they were wrong, the cult members decided their faith had saved the world. Sound familiar? It's not too different from die-hard sports fans who, no matter how badly their team plays, will blame everything except the team itself. The refs were biased. The weather was unfair, and the other team must have cheated, because sometimes accepting reality, whether it's a bad game or a flawed belief, is harder than convincing yourself that something else must be at fault.
Ciao, ciao.
The dopamine factor is crucial here. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, in his research on religious experiences, found that intense belief activates the same reward pathways as drugs, love, and chocolate.
Nani?
Your brain literally gives you a chemical high for sticking to your guns, even when those guns are pointing the wrong way. The amount of times I've been asked if I know Jesus on TikTok. What arrogant pill did you take this morning to make you think you know him any better than the next Joe out there? In ancient Greece, the Oracle of Delphi was worshipped for her wisdom. But you know what the temple's most famous inscription was? Know thyself. The irony, delicious. We're so busy worshiping external authorities that we've forgotten the most important critical thinking tool, self-reflection. So consider this. In Tibet, some monks spend years creating intricate sound mandalas, only to destroy them upon completion. It is a powerful reminder about the danger of becoming too attached to anything or any idea. Meanwhile, we're out here ready to die on the hill with whether pineapple belongs to pizza or not. The very process of worship actually feels amazing. It gives us community, certainty, and a hit of dopamine that would make a slot machine jealous. It's like your brain's way of saying, "Good job, buddy, you found the truth." Even when that truth is about as reliable as a weather forecast from your overly confident uncle who swears he can feel the rain in his knees while standing in the damn desert. So let's start in an unexpected place. Ancient Egypt. You know, they didn't just worship cats because they were cute Instagram material. They worshiped them because they killed snakes and rats, literally saving lives. That's worship with a practical purpose. Now fast forward to 2025 and we're worshiping influencers teaching us how to make life-changing overnight oats. We might need to recalibrate our standards a little bit, don't you think? Let's talk about religion first. And yes, we're going to try to do this without starting a holy war in the comments. Religion, at its best, is like that friend who both supports you and calls you out on your BS. Now take that concept of Ubuntu from African philosophy, which states, I am because we are, and it's beautiful. It creates community, gives life meaning, helps old ladies find potluck partners, and then the Dalai Lama put it perfectly. The whole purpose of religion is to facilitate love and compassion, patience, tolerance, humility, and forgiveness. But then there's the flip side. When belief calcifies into certainty, that's when things get messy. You know how in medieval times, Christians and Muslims were killing each other over whose invisible friend was better? Well, in 2025, we're still doing that, just with better special effects.
Enemy vessel, decloaking, go to red alert, fire phasers, red alert.
Now, speaking of special effects, let's talk politics, where every leader is either the Messiah or the Antichrist, depending on which podcast you listen to. In ancient Rome, they at least waited until their emperors were dead before worshiping them. We're not that patient today. We've got people treating politicians like they're a combination of Gandhi, Superman, and their favorite childhood teacher. Studies show that when people are presented with facts that contradict their political beliefs, the parts of their brain that process emotion and conflict light up, not the parts responsible for rational thinking. It's like trying to solve a math problem with your spleen. The historian Yuval Noah Harari states that humans are the only animals that can cooperate flexibly in large numbers because we can believe in shared myths. That's normally super useful, except when the shared myth is that your political party can do no wrong and the other side eats babies.
What the fuck?
Now, about celebrity worship. Oh boy. You know, in Japan, they have this phenomenon called idol culture, where fans are expected to maintain the pure image of their favorite stars. We've created this bizarre paradox where celebrities must be simultaneously relatable and perfect, authentic and flawless, and just like us, but also nothing like us. Which takes us to parasocial relationships. That's fancy psychology speak for when you think you're besties with someone who doesn't even know you freaking exist. In the past, this meant having a crush on a movie star. Now we've got people defending billionaires on X like they're family members and leave Elon alone. He's just having a bad day. Dude, he does not know you exist. I know that must be a huge hit for your ego. The really wild thing, when these idols mess up, the excuses get even more creative. Remember when Chris Brown assaulted Rihanna? Instead of condemning him, some fans were like, but he's such a good dancer. Oh, cool. So I guess if someone can hit a perfect moonwalk, we just ignore the fact that they also hit people. By that logic, we should start excusing bank robbers if they can do a backflip on the way out. The anthropologist Catherine Sindak observed that modern celebrity worship has replaced traditional religious iconography. We've just swapped saints for influencers. Instead of paintings of martyrs, we have Instagram filters. Instead of religious texts, we have Twitter hot takes. Instead of miracle claims, we have cryptocurrency predictions. In Hinduism, there's this concept called Maya, the illusion that keeps us from seeing reality as it truly is. Our modern worship of celebrities, politicians, and influencers, that's Maya on steroids, with a side of algorithmic amplification and a sprinkle of late-stage capitalism. The most ironic part, we're more connected than ever, yet somehow we've created these new digital tribes that are just as rigid and as unforgiving as any ancient cult. Ever notice how history's darkest chapters often start with someone saying, "Don't question this"? The pyramids of Egypt are amazing, right? Well, what's less amazing is they were built by people who believed their pharaoh was literally a god. As Egyptologist Dr. Kara Cooney points out, the pyramid wasn't just a tomb, it was a propaganda machine. Does that sound familiar? Modern influencers? In 1930s Germany, people weren't just following orders, they were following what they saw as a messianic figure. Hannah Arendt called it the banality of evil. But maybe we should just call it the psychology of worship. When you believe someone can do no wrong, you'll justify everything they do wrong. Now let's jump to North Korea, where the Kim dynasty has mastered what scholar B.R. Myers calls the cleanest political indoctrination system in modern history. They've turned political worship into an art form. Did you know that North Korean children learn to thank the supreme leader for their food before their parents? That's some next level brand loyalty. Now about Mao's China, during the Cultural Revolution, people would wave their little red books while destroying ancient temples. The irony of destroying old worship sites while engaging in new worship was apparently lost on everyone. But let's not get too comfortable pointing fingers at history. Jim Jones convinced over 900 people to drink cyanide-laced Kool-Aid in 1978. Today, we've got people drinking bleach because someone on Facebook said it cures everything. The methods changed, but the madness has not.
Bruh.
Remember when people used to camp outside Apple stores for new iPhone releases? Well, they're still camping here under Louis Vuitton for a new handbag. Ancient pilgrims walked hundreds of miles to sacred sites. We camp out for phones that will be obsolete in 2 years. As anthropologist Marcel Mauss would say, we're still practicing ritual sacrifice. We're just sacrificing our time and money and possibly brains. I added that part. The Elon Musk phenomenon is fascinating. In ancient times, people believed oracle priests could communicate with the gods. Now we've got people believing a billionaire's tweets are coded messages about humanity's future. Well, at least the oracle priests had better work-life balance. The poor guy is offering his heart in a moment of emotional spike, and now he's a Nazi. People are so funny. They expect those they admire to know what to say at every single turn. They are not God. Give them a break. And don't get me started on crypto and AI worshiping. Here's the terrifying pattern. Whether it's ancient temples or modern social threads, the worship playbook has not changed. 1. Create an us versus them narrative. 2. Demand questioning faith. 3. Demonize doubters. And 4. Profit, literally or metaphorically. Now think of every political episode that has happened in our life since the day you've been born, and tell me that's not exactly how the playbook goes. As philosopher Karl Popper warned, true believers are the most dangerous people in any society. They're so certain that they're right that they stop checking if they are even wrong. The scariest phrase in history isn't "I hate you." It is, "This is the only truth." Because once you believe you have the only truth, everyone else becomes wrong by default. And humans have a very nasty habit of trying to correct wrong with force. Every single destructive worship movement in history had people thinking that they were the good guys. The road to hell isn't just paved with good intentions, it is paved with absolute certainty. This show is sponsored by lookchaos.co, www.lechaos.co. Genderless, sustainable, trendy lifestyle. Now, I've done a whole episode on this matter, and because it's just overtaken every portal out there, so let's break it down for one last time. Let's talk about the Antichrist, the supposed omen of the apocalypse, the ultimate villain of religious prophecy, the guy who's apparently been on his way for the last 2,000 years, but still hasn't booked his flight. You ever notice how every generation thinks they are the last one? Think about it. Like clockwork. Every few decades, people freak out and start pointing at world events, screaming, "This is it! The prophecy is being fulfilled." Meanwhile, the world just keeps spinning and people move on to the next apocalypse. Where does this obsession come from? And more importantly, why do we keep falling for it? First things first, this whole Antichrist is coming thing is not new. In case you're new to podcasts or social media, or just popped on board, it is not new. It's been happening for centuries. Every war, every pandemic, every time someone sneezes in a way that sounds a little too demonic, boom, we're back at it again. In the year 1000, people thought the world was ending because, well, round number. Why the hell not? In the year 14th century, the Black Plague wiped out millions. Obviously, the Antichrist was behind it. In the 20th century, both Hitler and Obama were accused of being the Antichrist. That's quite a career shift. And today, if you had a bad Wi-Fi connection, some guy on the internet is ready to blame it on the mark of the beast. But here's the fun part. Fear-based faith is a brilliant control mechanism. If you're constantly terrified that the world is ending, you don't ask too many questions, you just obey. You stay in line, and you judge the hell out of anyone who doesn't subscribe to the same fear. Ever had someone tell you, if you don't believe the Antichrist is coming, you lack faith? That is not faith, sweetheart. That is social control. And don't even get me started on conspiracy side of things. People will stare at a completely normal event and twist it into some deep prophetic sign. There was an eclipse, that's biblical. A politician gave a speech in front of a red background, that's the devil's color. A new currency is being introduced, that's the mark of the beast. You mean the same way people panicked when credit cards were invented? Or barcodes, or literally every new technology? It is exhausting. We've been playing the same paranoia list on loop for centuries. Give it a break, guys. Most of these end-time theories come from religious texts written thousands of years ago. Think about that. These books have been translated, retranslated, interpreted, reinterpreted, edited, re-edited, politicized, romanticized, and used to justify everything from peace to genocide. And yet, people today think their interpretation, the one they heard from a guy on YouTube, is the absolute truth. That is not faith. That is arrogance. Look, believing in something is fine, but believing you know how the universe works, what God is thinking, and exactly when the world will end, that's not spirituality. That is playing God. And ironically, that's the exact thing most religious texts warn against, thinking you're above humility. It's both humiliating to religion and arrogant of us to assume we have the answers. The truth, and the only truth, is we do not know. Now, this is where I need people to take a deep breath and touch some grass. Yes, the world is chaotic. Yes, we should be vigilant, but what we're doing instead is being stupid. Every time something bad happens, we start drawing circles around random events like a conspiracy board from a bad crime show. A war broke out, it's the prophecy. A new disease, it's the prophecy. Some guy sneezed and it sounded kind of demonic, definitely the prophecy. This is not vigilance. This is paranoia dressed up as wisdom. And let's be real, if the end of the world is coming, do we really think panicking about it on TikTok is going to stop it? Do you think scrolling faster is the solution? That making yet another wake-up sheeple post is the key to survival? Every generation thinks they're special, that they are the chosen ones who will witness the grand finale. But guess what? So did the people before them, and the people before that, and the people before that. The world isn't ending. It is changing like it always has.
Oh, did you see that?
You know what's fascinating about the human brain? We can send robots to Mars, but we'll still share a Facebook post because my cousin's friend's dentist said it was true. There's actually an ancient Chinese concept called tinzin, literally to believe without questioning. They considered it a character flaw. Now we call it going viral. Woo! In the 1950s, psychologist Solomon Asch did this famous experiment where people would deliberately give wrong answers about the length of lines just to conform with the group. Pretty silly, right? Fast forward to today, and we're watching people eat Tide Pods because the internet said so. Evolution is clearly a work in progress. Dr. Sinan Aral from MIT tracked how false news spreads 6 times faster than truth on social media. Why? Because truth is boring. Truth is complicated. Truth doesn't care about your feelings. But lies? Ooh, now lies are sexy. They're simple. They confirm what we want to believe. And as Jonathan Swift said, falsehood flies and truth comes limping right after it. The point that I wanted to get to today is that we're not seeking truth anymore. We're seeking validation for what we already believe. You know, in Balinese culture, there's this beautiful concept called crumble, the idea that every action should be measured and thoughtful. Meanwhile, we're over here having emotional meltdowns because someone criticized our favorite superhero movie. The data is actually terrifying. Studies show that outrage-inducing contents get 17% more engagement. We're literally being programmed to react instead of think. Remember when people used to say, don't believe everything you read? Now we believe everything we, feel. The cult behavior online, that's a whole other level of fascinating horror. In ancient times, cults at least had to provide free food to get members. Now, just create a hashtag and watch people lose their minds. We've got stan armies more organized than actual armies fighting digital wars over pop stars who don't even know they exist. Professor Rene DeResta calls it participatory disinformation, where people willingly spread false information because it supports their team. It's like we're all playing for different sports teams, except instead of points, we're scoring with reality itself. But here's the really dark part. The weaponization of worship. You know how in ancient Rome, emperors would build massive colosseums to keep the masses distracted? Well, today's colosseum is your phone. Every notification, every outrage cycle, every viral moment, it's all carefully engineered to keep you angry, afraid, amazed, or even amused. We've got algorithms that know us better than we know ourselves, feeding us exactly what will keep us engaged, enraged, and clicking for more. A study from the University of Oxford showed that sophisticated bots can influence human emotion and behavior without people even realizing it. We think we're making independent decisions, but we're often just playing out scripts written by algorithms. The truly terrifying part? In the past, manipulating large groups of people required massive resources. Now, just a well-timed tweet, a few bot accounts, and a controversial hashtag can set the world on fire. As historian Timothy Snyder warns, post-truth is pre-fascism. When we stop questioning, we stop thinking. When we stop thinking, we start following. And history shows us where blind following leads. But here's the real gut punch. We're doing this totally and absolutely to ourselves. Nobody's forcing us to share without thinking, react without reflecting, or attack without understanding. We are choosing this, one click at a time, because it feels good. It feels righteous. It feels like we're part of something bigger than ourselves. The ancient Stoics had a term for this, prosoke, meaning attention or mindfulness. Maybe it's time we developed a digital version of prosoke before our blind faith in whatever's trending today leads us somewhere we can't return from.
In fields of green without a sound, fire
Ever notice how the wisest people in history were usually the ones saying, "I don't know"? Socrates became the smartest man in Athens by basically walking around saying, "I know that I know nothing." Meanwhile, we're out here pretending we're experts in epidemiology, geopolitics, physics, metaphysics, quantum physics, and monetary policy because we read 3 tweets and watch a few YouTube videos. Shoshin in Japan means a beginner's mind. It's this beautiful concept that no matter how much you know, you should always approach things with the openness of a beginner. Contrast that with social media, where everyone's suddenly an expert in everything. As physicist Richard Feynman said, the first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool.
Nobody cares.
Now here's a practical exercise I learned from cognitive behavioral therapy, and I hope this helps. Before you share that outrage-inducing post or jump into a heated argument, pause and ask yourself 3 questions. 1, how does this make me feel emotionally? 2, what actual evidence do I have? And 3, could I possibly, somehow, somewhere, some way, be wrong? I know the last one is an absolute killer. We've created a culture where being wrong is seen as worse than being ignorant. But being wrong is exactly how we learn. Science doesn't advance by proving things right, it advances by proving things wrong.
Elevate your spirit high.
In traditional Tibetan debate practices, monks actually clap when they make a good point, not to celebrate being right, but to mark a moment of clarity. Imagine if we approached our Facebook arguments that way, looking for clarity instead of victory. Now here's something the rage bait merchants don't want you to know. It's perfectly okay to say, that's interesting. I need to think about it. In fact, there's this beautiful Arabic word, tabayyun. It means to verify information before accepting or sharing it. Revolutionary concept, right? But let's get practical. How do we actually break free from the worship mindset? Here's what research and experience suggest. First, embrace the gray areas. Life isn't Marvel versus DC. It's not iOS versus Android or whatever TikTok's fighting about today. The Yoruba people of West Africa have this concept called Iwa Pele, which means gentle character and balanced behavior. They understand that truth often lies in the nuances. Second, start recognizing your emotional triggers. You know that hot feeling you get when someone criticizes something you love? That's your worship radar going off. Use it as a signal to slow down and think critically. Third, and this is crucial, develop what psychologist Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. Being wrong isn't a failure. It's an upgrade to your understanding. Think of it like a software update for your brain. Try to articulate the opposite viewpoint so well that someone who holds that view would say, "Yep, that's what I believe." It's called steel manning, the opposite of straw manning. It's hard, it's uncomfortable, but it's absolutely necessary.
In a world where the mind spins free.
In quantum physics, something can be both a wave and a particle depending on how you look at it. Reality is weird like that. Maybe our beliefs should be more quantum, flexible, open to observation, and aware of their own uncertainty. Remember this. Certainty feels good, but growth happens in uncertainty. The real power move in 2025, it's not having all the answers. It's having better questions. It's being able to say, you know what? I never thought about it that way. It's understanding that changing your mind is not weakness. It's absolute evolution. As anthropologist Wade Davis says, the world in which you were born is just one model of reality. Maybe it is time we stopped worshiping our models and started exploring new ones.
In the chaos, peace we'll find.
And here's the golden nugget for the day. Maybe instead of obsessing over how everything is definitely a sign, we maybe should focus on actually understanding the world we live in. Instead of panicking about the apocalypse, we should be asking, how can I make life better while I'm here? Because if the end is coming, it won't be because of some ancient prophecy. It'll be because we're too busy fear-mongering instead of thinking critically. The truth is, worship, whether it's of deity, a leader, or an ideology, becomes dangerous the moment it replaces curiosity with blind obedience. The second we stop questioning, stop analyzing, and stop seeking truth beyond what we want to believe, we lose the very thing that makes us human, which is the ability to grow. The world has ended 1,000 times in the minds of those who were too afraid to live in it. But here we are, still standing, still evolving, and still writing our own story.